I'm David Groninger in Seattle, Washington. It's Sunday, November 29th, 2015. It's Cyber Sunday, and I just got some great deals ordering some of my favorite, vegan, vegetarian food supplements on the internet today. Anyway, I had this idea that I can create a 10-minute message that can help 10 million people. And by the way, I usually just do this just out of my head, but I decided to start using notes, so I won't be facing the camera all the time. Once in a while, I'll look down at these notes. Well, I have this alarm clock here set to go off in 10 minutes, and this is to train myself to keep my talks to just 10 minutes. I'm actually doing these talks also as a way of teaching myself how to do speaking, and after each talk that I give, I review it and I write down what I thought was good about it, what was bad about it, and how I could improve upon the next talk. I also send the talk out to my friends and invite them to critique it also. By the way, when we give a talk, just because you hear somebody like me giving a talk, or even a famous person in the field of public speaking and motivation and success, give a talk, sometimes I think we feel that they have the right to give a talk because they're more educated, they're trained, they're specialized in that. But anybody can give a talk like this. I am untrained in the fields that I talk about, but I get ideas that have been proven to be very valuable to other people based upon their feedback. So I give this talk partially to give a message that I feel is valuable, but also as a way to inspire others to give talks. You, as the listener, have many good ideas that you could write about, speak about, and promote in some way that could be of great benefit to other people. You don't have to be a specialist or be famous or be rich or anything in order to offer messages to people that can be of great benefit. And I encourage you to do this. And so the title of this talk is going to have a very funny name, and it's called Divorce Cake Decorations. Divorce cake decoration. And what are divorce cake decorations? Well, you know what wedding cake decorations are. They're the decorations on a wedding cake, and it usually looks very beautiful, and wedding cake usually tastes very good. Well, a divorce cake decoration would be the decorations on a divorce cake. And what is a divorce cake? That would be a cake that's at a divorce celebration. Now, you'd think that's quite an insensitive and cruel thing to say, because most divorces, they're not happy. Many are bitter, traumatic emotionally, and whatever. However, for people who are mature, who are understanding of each other, and who realize that maybe they'd be better off, separating their ways and have mutual respect, a divorce does not have to be traumatic or bitter or angry or anything like this. So the idea of divorce cake decorations, it's the idea of this, that we never know how long any human relationship is going to last. Now, from what I've read, only about 30% of marriages wind up in divorces. Maybe 30 to 50%, but about 30%. However, from my observation, at least another 30% of marriages, even though they stick together, they seem like they're not really, really well suited, and they might be better off if they did separate, even though they stay together. They stay together just for financial reasons or whatever. So what this means is that at least a little bit over half of the people who make this promise that they're going to be with each other till death do them part cannot even keep to this promise. Now, this is no blame or shame on the people making the promise, because I think what is lacking is what's lacking is the training, the people skills, the training on how to be involved in a relationship, the training on how do we get our needs met from another person, and how do we find out if we are meeting the other person's needs. When you think about, a person working at McDonald's, they have to get training. They have to get training on how to turn on the oven, the correct temperature to heat the food, and this. And when you drive a car, you have to get training. But here's the thing about a wedding. Nobody has to get trained to have a marriage or to have a wedding. And because of this, people get married for emotional reasons, and of course for common sense practical reasons too. But when I talk about divorce cake decorations, what I mean is this. that you have a wedding that has all of this hyper energy connected with it, all this money connected with it. I think the average wedding in America maybe costs $25,000. I think the average divorce also costs $25,000. And you can check online to maybe find out how close I am to these. But at a wedding, people spend all this money on food, the catering, the photographers, and the wedding cake alone is $300 or $400. The rental of all the suits and the dresses, and the renting of the hall and the music and all these things. So here's all this money being put into this event, all of this energy being put in, all of these people coming together just because two people are in love and are going to get married. My idea is this: if two people truly have a good relationship going and are choosing to get married, they do not require thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and all this human energy to support it. Think about Romeo and Juliet. Their parents were totally against their wedding, and their wedding actually was one of the most romantic in all of literature. So it seems kind of odd to have divorce cake decorations as an idea. But what if, instead of spending all this money on the weddings, you take that $25,000 and all the monetary gifts that might be for both people as well, and you just invest it. And then what if 10 years down the road the two people decide to get divorced? That $25,000 plus all the gift money, that might be worth $150,000. So if it only costs $25,000 for all the attorney's fees and whatever to get divorced, each person is still way ahead. Well, it's just an idea. So, and think about the many people that all come together for a happy event. But how many people are going to show up to support this couple when the times are rough? When they're realizing that maybe they made a mistake, when they're having troubles with themselves, troubles with each other, how many people show up to support the kindness and the respect and helping these people deal with their emotions? How many people show up when there's no free food and no big party? How many people show up for the divorce? You know, I think it's quite tragic. But again, it's just a funny way of looking at things. So when I say divorce cake decorations, I'm not trying to make fun or make light of what can be a very serious, traumatic, and very unhappy human experience like a divorce. I'm just saying that I'm inviting people who do get married to assume a greater responsibility in this new relationship. The responsibility to get the training, the education that they may not have gotten before the marriage, to get the training and education that will help them so they do not have to go through the divorce experience. If you look at the eventualities or the potential of what might happen and you prepare for it, you're also lessening the chances of that thing happening, or at least you're lessening the amount of pain and difficulty and expense if such a divorce might happen. So basically, that's my talk today. It's called Divorce Cake Decorations, and it's an idea that simply means that the reason that people usually get divorced is because they did not have the skills necessary to even select the right person to begin with. They did not have the skills that were necessary in order to repair an argument or disagreement that started to develop and maybe grew into something that was then irreconcilable, later on. So divorce cake decorations, it's the idea that do not be embarrassed if you fail at anything. Be prepared in life for your success, but also be prepared for the eventuality of what might seem to be a failure. If you were prepared in advance for the unexpected, and if you're flexible in your expectations, and you are prepared by getting the training, the education, the skills that's related to that area, then when the unexpectedly bad things happen, they're not as bad. They're not as cruel, and you don't suffer. You don't suffer as much. So this is David Groninger, kind of wondering how come my alarm clock didn't go off. Oh, I'm still about almost 1 minute shy. Well, what do you know? Well, I'm going to end off the talk anyway, and I hope that this message might have been of some value to you. And it's the idea that, think about this the next time you go to a wedding. Look at all of the energy around you that's contributing or supporting this idea of people getting together. And have fun at a wedding. If you're not married yet, have fun at it. And if you're already married, by all means, remember the good times of this wedding. I'm not knocking expensive weddings. I'm not being critical of that. I'm just saying that, from my observation, the time that people need the financial help and the help from other people and the emotional support is the time of the divorce, not the time of the wedding, or the time of the struggle in the marriage, not the time of the big party. Well, here's my alarm clock going off, so I'm going to turn it off. And I'm going to say this message is based upon my idea that I can create a 10-minute message that might help 10 million people. And each day I ask myself the question, well, what kind of a 10-minute message might I give today that just might help 10 million people? I never know which message might do it. I do know that I'm going to keep my talks to 10 minutes. And the message today has been called Divorce Cake Decorations. This is David Groninger in Seattle, Washington, saying thank you.